Hello everyone, welcome to the first official episode of the VA Hunting Bros. Lowell and I are here in Missouri. It is November 4th, and we're headed towards a little place to hunt for the afternoon. So, Lowell, you want to give a little bit of an intro to what we've been up to the last couple of days?
Well, first of all, let me just stop and think. Let's consider what you just said. It's November 4th, and we're in Missouri. How awesome is that? We have gray, overcast skies, which may or may not be awesome, but it feels ruddy. Feels like the deer should be moving.
It's not super cold.
And
it's
mid-40s. 12:30. We're switching spots, and we are heading north. And you know what's north of Missouri? It's Iowa. So obviously the deer are growing in size as we
each mile we go, they get bigger a couple inches.
Yeah. Now, actually, we are quite excited. So let's give a brief recap of what we've been up to. We arrived out here late Friday night.
Yep.
Unpacked everything. It was midnight or after till we got to bed. So we got up right at first light and decided the best thing we could do was just do some glassing and check some fields and also check a bunch of parking areas.
It was youth season out here, so there was more people in the woods Saturday and Sunday.
Right. This piece of public was one we hunted last year, so we were somewhat familiar with it and kind of knew some spots where we wanted to key in on, but we kind of wanted to see what the pressure might be looking like this year as opposed to last year. So we spent the first hour or two driving around instead of trying to walk in somewhere and hang in the dark, and which is always a little bit of a zoo. So
last year we just kind of started hunting immediately. Didn't do a whole lot of digging around beyond what we had done on Onyx before we came out. So.
Yeah, I think we saw a little bit of an uptick in hunting pressure.
For sure.
Just because, it was a Saturday, and I think youth season had something to do with it, too.
Yeah.
Found some interesting looking areas and saw actually one quite interesting area that a Louisiana license plate truck was parked at. So we figured he's an out-of-state hunter, probably has the week to hunt, so we kind of just crossed that off, but we may go back and check it out. So then we actually did hunt Saturday evening. We did some more scouting and kind of scouted our way in, so to speak, and both hung in tree stands Saturday evening. I saw a little buck, and you had more action than I did. You saw 5 or 6 deer. 2
or 3 little bucks, and one of them was chasing 3 does. So yeah, that was definitely a good start to the hunt. We ended up Saturday evening in a place or places where we hadn't even went last year, so we were in new territory, and that's always kind of fun to look at a map and look at what's there and then figure it out and hang it, and then to see deer is always kind of nice too.
Yeah, we're seeing sign making, definitely rubs and scrapes, trying to key in on areas that look really fresh. A lot of the sign we're seeing looks, like it was laid down last week. I think probably we're just at the tail end of peak scraping and stuff.
Yeah.
And, I'm seeing big scrapes that haven't been freshened up. A few that have been. So that always makes you excited going into an area when they're fresh. But
they had some snow, Thursday or so
last week.
So that's kind of last activity maybe on some of those.
Right. So yesterday, we're out here visiting family. Spent the morning hanging out with them, going to church, and then we decided to hike around or drive around actually in the afternoon. So been intrigued to check out a bow-only area, which is about 45 minutes an hour away of where we're hunting, and it's across a large body of water which will remain nameless. But
I was wondering how you're going to navigate the nameless nature that we want to keep these places as. But
it's a pretty interesting place. So we drove up there and immediately we were just impressed with what's different country.
Yeah, it just feels
more
different.
So it's always kind of I don't know, exciting poking around in new areas. But it's bow only, which is intriguing in and of itself. And then we started seeing deer driving around. I mean, they're deer. We probably saw 30-plus deer during a couple hours last evening.
Which, coming from Virginia, we sometimes think we're doing quite well to see a deer in an entire evening hunt.
Yeah, so
it's kind of.
But it just seems like the population is probably even higher up here than where we have been hunting.
Yep.
Just more deer. So we were driving around and we actually had the fortune or whatever it was of seeing a gentleman farmer pulled in. They were working on a combine, and wonder of wonders, I stopped and chatted with him a bit.
That's unlike Lowell, for the record.
But when big deer are on the line, you never know. So we gained permission to access a very remote corner of this place through his field. Very super nice guy, and we went in there just a little bit, just off of his land onto the public, just to kind of see how to get back in there. We saw a deer walking in. There's a buck back in there chasing.
Yeah, I think we saw 4 or 5 deer.
A lot
right
of
there.
sign.
Yep.
It looks like probably a place that has not had a lot of hunting pressure. So we're
the closest access, if you come in from the public side, is what, 1.5 miles, 1 3/4
at least, and that's
Something
from
like
both parking areas. It's just the way it's all kind of landlocked in there. It's just hard to get to. So
yeah.
We are really excited about that. Unfortunately, the wind is just dead wrong to access through that today.
Yeah.
So we're going to come up from the other parking area, one of the parking areas, work our way up towards that general area. Probably won't get all the way up in there today.
Yeah, we might start just kind of hunting our way into it.
We're interested to get
into.
away from the parking area and just see what we
what
can
happens.
see.
Yeah.
So hope to be up in a tree. Oh, it's going to take us a while to get in there, but
yeah,
hopefully
we're going to be
2
hiking,
hours.
1.25 miles, so at least, depending where we end up stopping. But yeah, it's raining now, fairly lightly. Hopefully, it doesn't do too much more than that. I guess we could.
It looks
check the
pretty
radar
light
here, but
to the north, so I don't think it'll be too heavy. I guess we never said what we did this morning. We basically, I still scouted my way along this morning through some stuff we wanted to check out. It's interesting. This was on the public piece, which we hunted last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was a spot that we're wanting to get to, just never got around to it. So, wow, let's hit the rumble strips.
If only Lowell could multitask, podcast.
So
and
we
drive.
found some interesting stuff this morning, but just didn't quite see the sign that feels like we should be setting up there.
There was some massive rubs, and you saw some older scrapes up in there. So there's definitely probably some big deer up in there, or a big deer. But
certainly something to keep in the back of our minds. And,
and it's a lot closer than this other place we're heading to today. So
develops up here, and especially with the access that we now have, I feel like we really need to focus our attention up here.
I agree.
And if that doesn't pan out, then we will shift our focus back elsewhere.
Yep, that's what I understand we're doing. All right, that kind of catches everybody up. So I guess we'll end this right here, but we might kind of chime in with another piece here, kind of wrapping up this evening's hunt. So we will talk to you after a few hours.
Wish us luck.
And we're back. Welcome back, Lowell.
Hey, good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah.
After that hike, it's good to be anywhere.
It's good to be anywhere where you're not hiking.
Whew.
Yep. So it's what, 7:20 or so? Which doesn't sound terribly late, but we got out of the trees
Shooting lights
about
ended been
5:30.
Yeah,
20,
so almost 2 hours.
Yeah. So we pulled into the parking lot this evening, and there was a couple of vehicles there. And Lowell convinced me to go ahead with him. I was a little nervous about it all. I don't like going in with other people. But anyhow, it worked out.
Yeah, so we went through a bunch of, well, man, sometimes stuff just looks different in real life than it does on a map. So we went through some really, really thick stuff. I mean, we're talking thick.
Yeah.
And basically, we should have just taken the access trail. It would have been longer, but it would have been faster.
Much less difficult.
Easier walking. So we crashed around through this thick stuff for a long time. Lots of deer sign in it, but after crashing through it, we didn't figure it'd be worth setting up on it.
Yeah.
And besides, it was fairly close to the parking area.
Well, we were kind of headed straight through it to begin with, which
Yeah.
that was our plan anyway. So we kind of went around and down through and off to the left, which doesn't mean anything to our listeners, but that's kind of how it worked out.
Yeah, so we ended up going in probably, a mile and three-quarter?
My tracker said 1.85 miles, but there was kind of a double back in there too. So,
and that was one way. So we were back in there.
Yep, we were definitely. I was considering how big of a buck I wanted to drag out of there before I would have shot one, but that didn't end up being an issue as I didn't see anything all evening. I set up over a scrape, kind of expected to at least see something come along through there, but nothing showed up.
Yeah, and I went on back to the next ridge over from Eldon, and I bumped a buck going in. He was bedded on a ridge, or on kind of the end of that ridge, and walked up the ridge, and I found a place to set up. And just as I was setting up, I bumped a few does. I guess they saw me or heard me starting to get my stuff together to get up the tree. And then once I was actually up in the tree, I saw a decent buck cruise by about 50 yards. I didn't get a really good look at him. He was in some thick stuff. He may have been a borderline shooter, but he was definitely, cruising and just kind of cut the ridge how I was thinking they might do. And then I saw a doe right at dark.
Okay.
That was all for deer for me. So I don't know, lessons from this evening, look at your map.
Yeah.
What might seem like we thought, man, we can get back in there. It's 12:30, 1 o'clock. We got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Well, it's a long ways, and terrain can really
going straight up the
tough.
hill is very difficult, especially when it's mostly briars.
Yeah, and then lesson number 2, I don't know, I almost felt like maybe I walked past better sign looking for
other better sign.
Yeah. And may have been the case. Like right about the time I bumped that buck, I was running into a bunch of rubs and stuff, and it was down a bottom, and I wanted to set up on a ridge, not a bottom. So
yeah,
maybe
the
I wouldn't have.
Wind did a few weird
there.
things. It's probably been even weirder in the bottom, but who knows?
So now the game plan is we're going to regroup a little bit, and we really would like to access through that field, which we have permission, like
across
we talked about.
Private,
I just think we'd be able to get into some unpressured section, and it would save
potentially
a lot of hiking.
Yeah, I mean, you were up there pretty close to that tonight, actually. I mean, a little ways away, but you saw some
half a mile.
You saw some
Maybe
signs
not quite.
of humans too.
I saw an old stand. It was hard to say.
Okay, I didn't realize it was old. Never mind.
Well, I don't know if it was an old stand. It was
anyway
60 yards away.
There was a lot of sign in there, so it's probably worth trying to figure out a way to get set up in there again at some point. But
all right, time for supper.
Yeah. 11 miles from home. Supper in bed, and then we will get up and do something tomorrow morning. So that's it for this episode. We will record another one at some point, probably. Bye.